Do you hate your job? How do you stick on in a job that you hate? Maybe today you are in a job where you are checking in, punching in your time card and wondering how to get out even before the day has even started. You drag yourself to work and you wonder, when is this going to end? And every single day at work, you are looking for the next job on job sites, on job banks, and despite sending out CV after CV, nothing seems to change. Nobody gets back to you, and you're getting desperate. You're getting hopeless. You wonder if there is any hope for you. Today, how do you stick on in a job that you hate? Well, there are many reasons for sticking on, but before we go into the reasons for that, today I wanted to look firstly at why your job doesn't seem to work for you, then why, 2 reasons why you might want to stick on, and then 3 reasons how you can craft a better exit as you stick on. So let's go. The first reason is why it's actually so difficult. Well, if you look at jobs, we often think that it's a full expression of our fullest self. Here you can see a picture of me and we are excited, we are doing the things that we love, and we think that we love every single day. But the reality of job looks a bit more like my dog who is sleeping. It's boring, you're doing the same thing, and you feel disengaged at work. What is the misconception that we bring to work? There are 2. The first one is that we are actually looking for challenge, not comfort. The best jobs, if you remember in the span of your life, even in voluntary activities, is those that have been particularly challenging. If you look at this particular toilet sign that I took on the back of a toilet bowl, it says, please don't flush nappies, sanitary towels, and then as you go down, your ex's sweater, hopes, dreams of goldfish down this toilet. And that is true. When you go into work, you bring in your deepest dreams, hopes, and yearnings. You bring in a desire to be used to fulfill your greatest potential. You are looking for challenge. You're not looking for a comfortable job. But today, many of us might think that the job that we're at is particularly challenging, or what is more likely is that it is too comfortable. It is not challenging you. It is not engaging you. It is not engaging your deepest skills. It is not engaging what you are put here to do. This sounds ridiculous. After all, who want discomfort in lives? But as I've talked to person after person about difficulties at their jobs and why they want to quit, what I often realize is that often it is because they find that the work is not engaging them. They are doing the same thing over and over again, and over time things become a routine. There is no longer any challenge in the job. They feel like they've known everything and that there's no longer anything to learn. And so that's when it becomes, I want to change my job. I want you to look back at the jobs or even voluntary activities where you have felt a great sense of flow, of joy, of fulfillment, of engagement. And I want you to think about the conditions in those jobs. Was the task particularly challenging? Did it involve doing something seemingly impossible? Did it ask for more of you than you ever thought was possible? Well, if that's the case, then today you realize why your job's not working out? It's because maybe, just maybe, it might be too comforting for you. The second thing is that we're looking for adventures, not aces. We're not looking for someone to say good job in our job. We're actually looking for that sense of adventure, of discovering something new, not only about our jobs and our work, but also something new about ourselves. In the hero's journey, Joseph Campbell talks about how every single hero goes through this deep dark place, this cave, where he battles some monster and he comes out renewed, refreshed, and with a deeper sense of self. Today in your job, you're looking for that same sense of adventure, where you are challenged and where you feel like you're discovering something new about the world, about yourself each and every day. And so as you go on that adventure, or as you look for that adventure, sometimes you might not find that in your job. And so that explains our misconceptions towards our job. This too, that we are looking for challenge, not comfort, and that we are looking for adventure, not aces in our jobs, explain why sometimes our jobs don't seem to work for us. Now let's look at why we should stay. The first reason is you introduce optionality. Today if you quit, there is only two options. You either get a job or you die. There's no other option. Staying on in your job gives you the chance to explore different options, whether it be through a volunteer work or hobby that you pursue outside of your working hours. This gives you optionality. It doesn't introduce a binary option where you have to find a job or you die. This is not an excuse to stay on in something that you know isn't working out, but it is about introducing that sense of optionality rather than that sense of desperation. You don't want to go on a job search when you have no income and end up being extremely desperate. And this might seem like safe and conservative. Trust me, you don't want to be in a place where you don't have a job and you are trying to search desperately for someone who will give you. I've been there, gotten depressed, gotten antidepressants, gotten into binge eating, and I wouldn't wish that for anyone else. Staying in a job introduces optionality. Secondly, no job is perfect. Even if this job is imperfect, flawed, you will realize that every other job you find is going to be imperfect as well. Learning to stay in a job is about recognizing that there is good in a job, however bad it is, however much you hate it. And so later we will explore some of those questions that might help you to look at a job in a more sustainable way, to look at what's working in that job. Lastly, if you look at it, sometimes being in a job is like eating a Easter bunny chocolate. On the outside, everything looks nice, right? When you first started your job, things look really nice. And as you look for another job, the job description is always going to be great. It's going to look beautiful. But when you start eating it, that's when you realize the calories come on, you start getting a cough, you start getting fatter, and that's when you realize that things are not all they seem. When I bought this Easter egg bunny, I thought it was going to be full of chocolate, but the moment I bit into it, it was empty. Today, staying on in a job is not about being safe or conservative, but it's about being wise. It's about realizing that just like this Easter egg bunny, quitting might seem nice externally. Throw your tender letter and walk out. On the surface that looks nice, but when you peel beneath, it's going to be an empty an extremely painful process. And as you look for your next job, the outside is going to be nice as well. But then you peel beneath the surface and then you realize that things are not as nice as they seem. Lastly, you build character. As you stay on in a job, ask yourself this question: what if this was necessary for me to build my deepest potential? This might not be nice, but it might be necessary. So you see this as a time where you build character, you mold resilience, and you mature into your fuller self. Often it is said that with pain comes perseverance, and with perseverance comes possibility. What if this was necessary for you to achieve your fullest potential? Take the time to just write down what are some lessons you're learning about yourself, or some character traits that you see yourself molding and growing during this time. That is a good start. So how do you then stay on in a job that you hate? Well, amplify the love that you have for the job. Well, here are some questions that you might want to think of. What is working at the moment? As you look at your job, ask yourself, are there certain parts that you like? And how can you do more of that? Secondly, how will you rate work on a scale of 1 to 10? And then ask yourself, why isn't it lower? In a recent coaching session with one of my mentors, she asked me what I was doing currently and how I would scale that. And then strangely, she asked me what would help it to move to a 2.1. You can see from my answer of 2 that I was not enjoying my work a lot. But when she asked that question, what would enable it to move to a 2.1, you start thinking about the small things that you can do to be able to build more joy and fulfillment in your work. So today, I want you to look at this from another perspective. Rather than looking at everything that isn't working, look at what's working. And ask yourself, if I could, how would I move it to a 2.1? Secondly, start your process of discovery. Here are 3 questions that will help. What do I currently dislike about my work? Well, knowing what you dislike is a definite recipe to start finding out what you like. Because as Charlie Munger says, invert, always invert. Invert what you're trying to find. So if you're trying to find out where you're going to fit best next, then ask yourself, what do I dislike about my current role? And what are the themes I want to build on moving forward? And more importantly, ask, what do I want? Sometimes work can seem like this statue, isn't it? Where you are tied down and you feel like, oh my, nothing is working. But as you look at these 3 questions, it starts helping you to see work, and this particular work that you hate, as a time to discover more about yourself. In Jonathan Haidt's book, The Happiness Hypothesis, he talks about how work usually is one of 3 things. It's either a job where you just do it for the money. It's a career where you get your career achievements, your promotions, and you grow in that career that you built for yourself. Or it's a calling. As you build your calling, as you try and discover it, realize that this is a journey. And as you grow on this process of self-discovery, the first job might not work, the second job might not work. but take it as a time of learning rather than a time of loss. Frame it as a time where you are learning more about yourself rather than a time where you are losing more of yourself to work. The last thing is build a runway. Build a runway where you are leaving. You are not going to land like a plane on grass. A plane lands on a runway, and before landing, there is an elaborate series of checks that they have to do. I'm not a pilot, so I can't tell you how to land a plane. But just as you prepare to exit your job, there are going to be things that are helpful for you to build your exit strategy. One of those is to work your network. It's very helpful to look at working your network as going to your network and asking them, how can I help? Because as you work your network, think of how you can contribute to the people around you rather than contributing by just asking them, do you have a job for me? That is the biggest turn-off. Show them what you can do by helping them and contributing to their work, so that slowly you'll begin to find people that admire you, know your qualities, and are willing to employ you. You know, as we end, you've seen the misconceptions of work. How we often look for comfort in our work, but not challenge. When it's actually challenge that we should be looking for, and how we think that we are looking for aces or external validation from work, when actually what we are looking for is that sense of adventure from work. Then you look at why you might not want to quit work at this moment. Because firstly, no job is perfect. Secondly, that you are allowing yourself optionality by not quitting work. And lastly, that you are building character as you stay on in a job that you hate. We've looked at 3 ways that you can love more about the work that you currently hate by amplifying the small aspects that you already love, deliberately building the activities which you enjoy, doing more of them. Then we look at how you can build a runway and an exit strategy by working your network. And lastly, we looked at how you can reframe this process, however painful it is, as a process of discovery rather than of needless and endless pain. Today, you might be feeling like you're in winter and you feel like things are dying within you as you do a job that you hate. And wherever you are in your journey, that can be really painful. But hold on to hope that spring is coming. That as you go through one day at a time, that you will slowly find joy, love, peace as you go on to the rest of your working career. Remember, this is a journey. This is a process. It's not going to be resolved in a day. But be patient, because this is building great character in you. What was the most helpful thing for you in thinking about how you can stick with a job you hate? Let me know in the comments below, and I'd love to hear from you soon.